In the 60 plus episodes of the GymCrafter podcast, I have never, ever put as much time and effort into preparing for an episode as I have for today's. Hope it was worth it. Welcome back to the GymCrafter podcast, everybody. My name is Tim. I am the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And I've got a doozy for you guys today. Vulcan Strength Incorporated is suing Gluck of Gluck's Gym for defamation for posting a bad review. And I got some things to say. So that's what today's podcast is going to be about. I'm going to try and take a little bit of a different approach than literally everybody else who is out there talking about it. But I want to give you a couple of things as an overview. First of all, this is the 62nd episode of the GymCrafter podcast, and the first 61 episodes were clean as a whistle, family friendly. Warning, today's is not going to be. I normally swear like a sailor, and I'm going to let a little bit of that creep in today. So if you normally listen around the family, today's is probably not going to be a super family friendly podcast. But I think it's appropriate since some of this lawsuit has to actually do with language. So there's going to be some of that. Second is, I want to kind of give some of my qualifications for why should you care what I think. First of all, you shouldn't care what I think. So I'm the guy who rambles on the internet. But if you do care what I think, a couple of things of note. Number one, I have been a Vulcan affiliate for 7 years. Now, I have very rarely, if ever, promoted any of their products. I honestly don't think that they make anything super spectacular or better than others in its category. For a while, I did on the website, and they may still be there. They made the best outdoor bumper plates that were around. But like I said, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. I haven't really looked at their stuff too much lately, just because, like I said, I don't think it's anything to write home about. But I have been an affiliate. I do maintain an affiliate relationship with them, and I think that's important to mention to you guys now. Secondly, if you haven't followed the podcast or you haven't followed me, I have a 30-year background in corporate retail. A large portion of that was spent as a buyer and an operations manager. So I have a lot of knowledge of the business aspect of running a business, setting max levels, determining inventory, determining initial buys of products, projecting sales, forecasting needs, and working with companies that import so that you kind of know you got to know things well ahead of time, and boy, you better not guess wrong or you end up sitting on a warehouse full of stuff. So I've got a very long history and background in doing that. So I bring that knowledge to the table today. And as you guys know from watching the channel, I have tested enough fitness equipment to know kind of whether something is at least generally or globally good or not, simply by looking at some of the reviews and some of the features and functions. So I think that if you pair all that stuff together, hopefully I have a little bit of credibility in this space. Now, normally I don't comment on public feuds, political issues, things like that. I really try and stick to just the gear and helping you guys out. But what I want to do today is I want to combine those. Yes, this is kind of a highly politicized topic right now, but I think that there's some lessons that we can learn when we look at this lawsuit of how can you and I as consumers learn from this and make ourselves better consumers and smarter shoppers. So that's the tack that I'm going to take. That's the approach that I'm going to take, is I really want to take, like I said, some lessons from this lawsuit and turn them into lessons for you and I, into how we can determine if a review is good, if a review isn't good, can we trust a company, can we not trust a company, and those types of things. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, let me give you an overview of this lawsuit. So first of all, I don't think personally that anybody should voice or have a strong opinion on this lawsuit unless you've read the lawsuit. So in the link in the description below, I'm going to link you to a really good article that summarizes the lawsuit from a law-centered website, and they're not one-sided. It's a pretty good kind of objective take. However, you can tell that this website doesn't have a ton of experience in the home gym community because they do make some mistakes, which I'll point out. And then I also am going to link a link to a PDF copy of the actual lawsuit itself. I've seen a lot of opinions flying around, a lot of initial reactions flying around, some of them good, some of them not, some of them emotional, some of them very reasoned. And I think that when you read the lawsuit, you will get a better understanding of what's going on and also kind of the things I'm going to talk about today. because I think that there are two sides to every story. And while I definitely come down on one side of this issue pretty firmly, I do think that it's important that you look at both sides of any issue before you make a decision. So I'm going to recommend that you do that if you're interested. For those of you who won't do that, which is most of you, let me just kind of summarize. Basically, Gluck of Gluck's Gym, if you don't watch that channel, you should. If you like home gym stuff, he's really kind of the best guy in the space right now and one of the most trustworthy guys in the space, and that'll come into play here in a minute. He made a review of the Vulcan, I think it's called a Talos. It's just like what I'm sitting in front of. I'm sitting in front of the Aries. Across the gym is a Fringe Sport Dane. Probably one of the biggest categories in home gyms right now are these racks with cable systems built in, either with or without a Smith machine. This particular one is Vulcan's entry into that arena, and everybody and their brother is making them, and we're going to talk about that too, because I think this is where Vulcan got itself in a little bit of trouble. But they made this product, and Gluck reviewed it as a giant pile of shit. I think that's almost a direct quote. And I told you again, warning you, there's going to be some language today. Dumpster Fire was another one that I heard and was not a favorable review at all. He pointed out a ton of stuff, a ton of issues with this product right on the review. Said, this is bad. Look, it's bad. I will show you it's bad. So, and again, you're going to see where this all kind of comes together. But he made this review, and then all of a sudden you see Vulcan Strength come along and they sued him for slander. And slander, I've done a lot of research. Basically, slander is when you intentionally misrepresent something, and that misrepresentation is published on a third party like a YouTube, and then that hurts the sales or the character of the company. So it's basically, we think Gluck was making up bad stuff about us, and we're going to prove that everything he said was a lie. That's kind of the gist of the suit. And the suit is actually very detailed. It goes into detail of, we think that this was false and this is why, we think that this is false and this is why. And I'm going to go through a couple of those points today because I think that they're very eye-opening into not only how Vulcan is looking at the home gym industry, but also looking at us as customers. And it also kind of gives you some insight into maybe some of the misunderstandings between not only companies and YouTube channels, but also viewers and YouTube channels and what we expect from YouTube channel and what we don't. So that's kind of the overview. Like I said, I definitely recommend you read either the suit or the summary that I linked down below. But with that said, I want to just jump to my main conclusion because I know some of you aren't going to want all the things I'm going to talk about later, and you just want to know what GymCrafter thinks about the lawsuit. So my first overall impression, like I said, is I don't think you should have an impression unless you've read the lawsuit. But now that I've said that 1,500 times, my general impression is that Vulcan's being a little bitch. I hate to say it that way. Like I said, I prepared for this episode a lot, and I tried to think of a more politically correct way to say that, but I think that really sums up my opinion of what this company is doing. I think they're being a little bitch. Little bitch ass, punk ass bitches. Somebody said mean things about your product. Get over it. And I'm going to back up that statement here in a little bit. Again, Vulcan, everything in this episode is my opinion based on me reading the lawsuit and no actual experience of your product. So please don't sue me too. But anyway, like I said, I think they're being a you-know-what. So what pairs onto that is I don't know that it's a problem so much that Vulcan made a bad product or a product that has opportunities or could be better. I think that the issue is how they responded. So my 30-year background in retail, 20 of those years was spent at a place called Apt Electronics in Chicago, Illinois. If you know, you know. Rated #1 in Consumer Reports for appliance sales for many, many years. My department, the team that I led, had a lot to do with that. I'm very familiar with what it takes to grow a successful business, to be a part of a successful business, and to be a part of a business that is customer focused. No business is free of mistakes. Every manufacturer will make a bad product. Every manufacturer will have to do a recall at some point. Every manufacturer will miss something on the way out the door. Every manufacturer will get a bad review. Everybody's going to screw up a customer's order. Everybody's going to screw up shipping. It's not that, hey, this particular company never screws up. What's important is how does that company respond to the screw up? And that's why I said I think Vulcan's being a little bitch. It's how they responded. So I'm going to stop saying that, by the way. But anyway, can you tell I'm a little bit riled up about this topic? The more I've researched this over the last few days, the more I've really I really thought about the accusations and really kind of went down the rabbit hole of where those accusations come from. It really just kind of upset me. partially because I'm in this space and I really go to great lengths to not get sued. But anyway, there's something called the Streisand effect. And for those of you who aren't older, you may not know what this is, or you may not know why it's called the Streisand effect. But back in, I believe, the 70s or 80s, a helicopter took a picture of Barbara Streisand's house in Malibu, I believe. It was in the Hollywood Hills in Malibu. Beautiful house. They published it in a newspaper. They didn't say whose house it was. It was published in a magazine or a newspaper, something like that, just as an example of a beautiful house, right? And Barbara Streisand lost her shit. She absolutely went bananas. She sued the company. She sued the people who published it. She just went all, and what happened was it went from a picture that nobody knew that was her house except for her. But because she made such a big deal out of it, now everybody in the world knew that that was Barbara Streisand's house. And it was such a big deal at the time, it became known as the Streisand effect. And I think that this is another really good example. You know, YouTube reviews have a very short life cycle. I wish that they were evergreen. I wish that my videos got the same number of views week in and week out for in perpetuity, the entire lifespan that product is alive, but it doesn't. YouTube views spike in the first probably 3 to 5 days that they're up, and they just have a precipitous drop off after that. So like the news cycle today, if Vulcan would have just ignored it, it would have gone away. It would have been a bad review. Suck it up. It's a bad review. Big deal. You didn't have to sue somebody about it. Now, I understand based on what's in the lawsuit, they might think that they're justified in suing, but I don't know what they thought they were going to accomplish, because nothing is private in this world. It's not like back in the day when they could have sued them and nobody would have known unless Gluck made another video. This was bound to come out. So now the entire home gym industry knows. We're all kind of a tight, close-knit community. So while a lot of us watch Gluck's channel and we would have seen the review and went, I'm probably not going to buy that, most of us aren't in the market for a rack anyway. So most of those views aren't from people who are planning to buy that rack. Might it have impacted sales? Probably, because a bad review should impact sales. The reason we come onto our videos and tell you something is bad and you shouldn't buy it is because it's bad and you shouldn't buy it and there's better options. Like, that's part of the deal. And we'll talk a lot about this more later in the video. But in the end, you don't sue somebody over it. And if you do, then you should expect to come out as the bad guy, especially if you had done any research at all and known the reputation coming into this that Gluck has, which they spend a lot of time in the lawsuit trying to say is a fake reputation, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little bit upset about this particular issue. But Gluck's a good guy, whether you like him, whether you don't. I've met him. I don't know Gluck. I'm not going to sit here and say I know him, but I've talked to him back channel about a few things. The interactions that I've had with him are good. And the impression I get from his channel and watching his channel is that he is as honest as he can be while also trying to run a business. And I think that says a lot, right? So if you're going to sue somebody like that, you should expect a backlash. And they Streisanded affected the heck out of this particular issue. Again, I really think that whether or not the Talos is a good rack would have blown over. And there's so many people out there who don't watch YouTube videos. They would have sold this rack just fine, no problem. You could have gone back to the drawing board and done the second thing, which is the best way to react to this. And I would almost bet money that Gluck would have done this if they would have reached out and went, look, bad experience, bad time all around, bad ordering experience. We shipped you bad stuff. We made some BS excuses about why things were wrong, which are clearly BS excuses, which we'll talk about. But hey, we're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to make it better. We would like to come on and talk to you about, like, they could have done something to turn this into a huge positive. And everybody in the home gym community would have gone, oh, I'm not going to buy a Talos, but man, they seem like a really good company. Maybe I'm going to put them on my radar for buying stuff down the road. And that's something that I think is really important to look at in this particular situation, is not so much who is in the right or wrong. And I'm going to talk more about that, like I said, but I think it's very, very important to look at the opportunity that a problem presents. And that's something that the owner of the company that I worked at always made a big deal out of, because a problem is an opportunity to earn a customer for life. That's the rule that all of the general managers went by. All of the general managers in that store, what they did basically was talk to upset customers all day long. And their whole goal was to take an upset customer and turn them into a lifetime customer by, yes, we screwed up, not arguing, and going, what's it going to take to fix it and make you happy? And then going above and beyond that customer's expectations to make it better. And I can't tell you how many just evangelical customers we had, people who would shout from the rooftops how great that business is, not because they had a good experience, but because they had a bad experience, and Apt stepped up, and that's Apt is the name of the company. Apt stepped up and did right by them and made it right. And no other company does that these days. So I really think that when I say that I don't like the way that Vulcan responded to the bad review, I think from a business perspective, the 30-year business experience in me also bristles a lot, because I'm like, you are wasting such a golden opportunity. Yes, you're going to probably lose money on this product a little bit, or maybe have a lower sales rate, or maybe you're going to have to lower the price to sell it and be honest with people that there's price. There's lots of solutions they could have come up with. But instead of going to any of those solutions, what they want to do is force Gluck to take the video down and then sue him for defamation, and then try and take money from him because they feel like that they lost money in sales. So that's my overall impression. Can you tell? I'm not lukewarm on this at all, guys. So, but I do, like I said, now that that's out and a lot of you will stop watching the video now, what I really want to talk about is, as consumers, I think this presents a really interesting opportunity for you and I to learn some things about the space, to become smarter consumers and to make better purchasing decisions down the road, and to understand a little bit behind the scenes of how YouTube channels work, of how affiliate relationships work. I know there's a lot of conjecture out there about so-and-so is a shill for, apparently now I'm a shill for Force USA. I've heard that quite a bit lately, and we'll talk about that later. But that's something that we hear a lot in the YouTube space, and I want to shed some honest light on how a lot of these business relationships work, and whether or not that should impact whether you take a channel seriously, you don't take a channel seriously, whether you should take buying advice from somebody, and so forth. And I want to start with something that is a little bit off the beaten track from YouTube, and that is written reviews. So basically right now, written reviews are dead. Right? It used to be that if you wanted to research a product, you would type that into Google, and then Google would come up with a bunch of articles where people like myself wrote articles and reviews on products, and you use those to help you buy or not buy. And that's how I built GymCrafter. The GymCrafter has been around since 2017. The GymCrafter YouTube channel has not been around since 2017. It's close, but if you look at my early videos, it was literally just me in my garage with a cell phone because somebody told me I should have a YouTube channel. So I wasn't really putting a lot of effort into it. I did written reviews at first, and I built GymCrafter up as a written review site to the point where it was making very, very good money, to the point where I could actually quit my corporate job at Apt and do GymCrafter full time. And written reviews were a really good resource for a while. And basically the way that written reviews worked is you wrote a review, and the way that a review made you money was that it had to rank on Google. So if somebody went in and went Vulcan Talos review, typically if you're searching on Google, you're only going to read the first one. Typically most people only read the first one. Top 3 spots is where you were shooting for. That's where you could actually get some traction and get people to actually read your reviews. Anything below the 3rd spot, especially on the second page in past was just dead zone. So what you did as a written reviewer was you got very good at understanding what Google wanted to rank you high, and then you also got very good at understanding what information customers needed to make or not make a buying decision. And that's kind of how written reviews worked. Well, it was very lucrative, especially if you could write a lot of reviews and if you were willing to be dishonest. If you knew how to rank an article and just convince people to click on your link, then that was a very lucrative field to get into. So what happened over time is companies like Forbes and the India Times and all of these people, Money Magazine, people who had no, if you look up right now best toaster, I guarantee you Forbes is going to come up as article of 1,500 best toasters for your gym. And that was the other thing they would do, is they would just make an article and go, not best squat rack, these are the 50 best squat racks. So they would just hope that you would click on one of those 50 affiliate links. Anyway, the point is that those articles became less and less useful to you and I over time. And Google, like them or hate them, I'm kind of in the middle at this point, their job as a search engine is to return search results that help you. They want you to get what you look for when you search for it. If you don't get what you look for when you're searching, then you're going to use a different search engine. And that's how Google maintains a lot of its customer base. If you type in best squat rack and the first 3 pages are garbage because they're all Forbes and Money Magazine and the India Times and things like that, and they're all the 50 best squat racks instead of the 1 best squat rack, and half the products aren't even squat racks, then that's a problem. So Google is constantly updating their algorithm to try and return better and better results. Well, enter AI. Now you've got companies like, I'm going to use Pillar 4 Media. They own Garage Gym Reviews now, but they bought a lot of sites like this, and they use AI. In fact, if you look at Sports Illustrated was bought by them, and Sports Illustrated got busted a couple years ago because all of the articles said they were written by real people, but they were actually just AI generated articles by fake AI people. So what happened was you had companies like that, and there wasn't just them, there were lots of them. They were what's called content spinning. They were making thousands and thousands of articles every day on the best, you name it, right? And what they would do is they would tell ChatGPT to just look at what articles rank, take the elements of all the articles that rank in the top 3 on Google, and then put those in the articles that you write, and then write it. And then they would just have automated scripts that would go back and revise those articles every time they weren't ranking, check for the ranking, and all of a sudden somebody like myself, who's literally sitting on my couch after testing a squat rack for 3 months and then writing a single article on a single, all of a sudden I can't make money. Not only do I not know how to rank against those people, I'm just incapable. And in fact, Google, it got so bad that Google said, okay, we're done. The only way we know to rank something that we know is by a person and not AI is to return Reddit results. So that's why, if you ever wondered, why when you Google something these days, all of the results are from Reddit, or half the results are from Reddit, because that's called UGC, or user generated content. It's one of the only ways that Google knows that an actual person, and hopefully if they're in a Reddit subreddit, they have some knowledge of that product. So they're like, well, hey, at least if we do that, we know it's not an AI article trying to get somebody to click on a link. So why did I tell you all that? Well, I told you all that because the few sites that are left, especially in the garage gym space, who are still doing written articles, with one exception. First of all, I want to say, awesome job, and I can't believe you're still doing this, to my buddy Joe Gray over at Gray Matter Lifting. He's one of the few last bastions of good, honest, well-researched, well thought out written reviews on his website. So if you are a written review person, that's a great place to go. I'm not talking about Joe, I'm talking about most other people. And I want to talk specifically about a website called garage-gyms.com because they're named specifically in the lawsuit. Now what Vulcan says is that the Talos can't be bad because GarageGyms.com gave us a glowing review, and it's thorough and it's detailed, and look, it's long. It says all of these wonderful things about this is great and that's great, and they really go into detail in the lawsuit that this site thinks they're awesome. So therefore, Gluck's review must be wrong. And when I said earlier that clearly Vulcan and this whatever firm they hired don't understand the space, is what they don't understand is that when I look at that garage-gyms.com review, the first thing I can tell is that at least the first draft was written by AI. 100%, 99% guaranteed ChatGPT wrote most of that article. Secondly, it is written to rank. So the way that you write articles to rank now is you make them very long. You have to show pictures that you actually own the product. So they're pictures that the Google can't find in reverse image search. They're not promotional pictures. They're pictures of an actual user using it, which there aren't any, by the way. There's just pictures of this rack in a gym. So not sure where those came from. Then you have to go through each feature. You have to list all the specs. Like there's this whole litany of things you have to do. It makes really long articles. And it's one of the reasons I stopped doing written articles on GymCrafter is because the amount of effort it takes to write an article that ranks is massive, right? And I don't want to use ChatGPT to write my articles. So I'm kind of out of luck. Well, the point of that is that if it takes that much effort to write an article that ranks, then it doesn't make any sense to write an article that is a negative review. If you've got a product that's bad, you're better off just not, like, why go to all of that trouble to write a review, to have ChatGPT write an original, to source pictures, to massage it out, to make it sound like a person wrote it, to include all the specs, to put all the formatting, to do all of that, to hope that it ranks in Google, to then only say that it's a bad product. The issue and the reason why I say written reviews are mostly dead.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead.
Is because if they do rank, the odds of you getting an honest review are almost nothing, right? So nobody's going to take that time and write an honest review. That if they're going to take the time to rank, they want you to buy one, especially higher priced items like the Talos. The way that affiliate marketing works is that we get a small percentage of the product that you sell. So let's say, for example, and I didn't look up what Vulcan's percentage is, I probably should have, but let's just say it's 5%. So if this is a $4,000 rack, every one that article sells, that person's going to make $200. So it behooves them to go to all the effort to rank high in Google, knowing that some people are going to search it and knowing that some people are going to click it. All of a sudden, that's a worthwhile article to write. It's not a worthwhile article to write if it's a negative review and people don't click your link. So if you read that review, it basically says the Telos is the best rack that's ever been made in the history of racks. It checks every single box a garage gym owner could possibly want to have in a rack. It's wonderful. It's my next child's godparent. It's an obviously not honest review. So the reason I started with written reviews is that one of the bases for the lawsuit is that the video review, which shows the actual product being used and actually shows the product on the video and shows the problems on the video, don't believe your lying eyes, right? Now, I don't care what you just saw. This person over here who wrote it specifically just to sell them is the one you should trust. So what's the moral of that story for us? The moral of that story is, like I started with, written reviews for the most part are dead.
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
They're just not going to be a good source of research for us anymore. And that's why, even though I start every episode with GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks build home and garage gyms that they love, I haven't touched the website in a couple of years. And that's why, because it's just not worth. Now, am I going to? I don't know when, but at some point, since the website doesn't really drive revenue anymore for me, what I'm going to do is I'm eventually going to change it to be a much more usable resource for you guys so that you can go on, and it's not going to be long reviews that are designed to rank on Google. It's really going to legitimately be helpful. I kind of have the idea in my head of what I want it to look like, but that's why I don't post written reviews anymore, because I think it's much more important and much more authentic if I make a video that goes, here's the Aries. Here's what I like about the Aries. Look at it. Here's what I don't like about the Aries. Look at it. I'm demonstrating that for you. I think it's much more useful for you guys, and it's much harder to fake to just get you to click a link. Now, it's not impossible. And I'm going to give you some examples here in a little bit of some things you want to look for in videos where they're kind of really skirting the edges of giving you an honest review. But in the end, personal opinion, I don't think that written reviews are a good place to go for information when you're buying anything. Home gym or otherwise, guys. I'm talking about literally every product category out there, whether it's golf clubs, cars, computers, whatever it happens to be. I really think you're much better served finding a YouTuber or three that you like, that you can trust, that you can tell have your best interests at heart, and doing it that way instead of doing written reviews. And while we're talking about negative reviews, let's parlay that into the second point of the video, which is that Vulcan makes two accusations about Gluck, which is number one, he made a bad review of Vulcan because it's a reputation booster, right? Like if Gluck comes in and trashes a small company, that all of a sudden that makes him look honest and that you're going to trust him more when he says good things about bigger companies. So therefore he's going to make more money on those other videos because he's developing his reputation like that. So a couple of things about that. Number one, it's BS because the numbers don't work. It doesn't make any sense to make one bad video. The way that YouTube works is that we develop a reputation over time, and that reputation is what grows our audience. That's why audiences grow slowly over time. If you look at Gluck's reviews all the way back to the early days, he would start off his, it's so funny, if you watch his early reviews of Titan, every Titan fitness review starts with, well, this is probably going to cost me my relationship with Titan, right? Like he says that all the time. Like, I'm about to give you a bad review, and therefore this company's going to hate me. Right? He would say that about Titan. He said that a bunch of Bells of Steel stuff. He has not just made one review and of a small company like Vulcan. He has made lots of bad reviews about lots of products from lots of companies way bigger than Vulcan. And it's never to sell stuff. Guys, it costs us a lot of money to post a bad review, right? Because look, you guys don't click on the links in our good reviews. So I'm telling you, when I give you a quick example, just some backstory on GymCrafter. So I bought the Fringe Sport Dane 2.0. I made a really long video about it. It got tons of views. I got no less than 20 emails in the following 2 weeks asking me follow-up questions and then thanking me because that person bought a Dane. Thank you so much for the video. Thank you so much for the information. When I look at the back end between me and Fringe Sport only showed that 2 people bought Danes through my link on the video. So the idea that I would make a bad video over here to drive you to then purchase something from another video when people don't even buy from the links in the videos when they watch the good video, I hope that makes sense. But the numbers just don't work. It's an exercise in insanity to think that I'm going to spend any of my time at all making a bad review in order to drive you to buy another product. So between the fact that it takes a long time to build a reputation on YouTube and the fact that people don't click our links anyway, guys, this is why affiliate marketers and why these YouTubers say incessantly, please click my links, please click my links, please click my links, because nobody does. Like we see, like I talk back channel to these companies and they go, yeah, your video dropped on this day. We saw this many sales the next day. Right? And the only thing that changed was I dropped a video and I look at the affiliate links that were clicked and it's this little tiny itty bitty minuscule portion of the people who actually bought from that company. So that's just kind of how this game works. And to think that we would make a video, a separate video to try and drive you to other, it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, reputation is built by your behavior and your actions over a long period. And Gluck, myself, the people that I trust in this space have all made lots of negative reviews about lots of companies, big, small, and in the middle. Look, there's that, and that's just the way that it is. And it's not a one-time, I'm just going to trash this small company type of a deal. The second reason that that's a bunch of crap is that there are almost no reviews on the Talos, right? There's one by No Fate 24/7. Jonathan made it, and he actually made it on the same unit that Gluck had after Gluck's review came out. Outside of that, there's that written review that I talked about, and that's it. So from an affiliate marketer standpoint, to find a higher priced item from a company that typically had a pretty good reputation, Vulcan has had a pretty good reputation, and to be able to make a video of it and nobody else has it because Vulcan doesn't want to send free products, and we're going to talk more about that later, but Vulcan doesn't typically want to send free products to their affiliates. They're like, well, if you buy one and you want to make a video, that's great. Otherwise, that's one of the things is Gluck had to go back and forth with even getting one to test in the first place. To make a video on that, that's a golden opportunity. That's the golden opportunity in affiliate marketing for what we do for a living, right? To find a product that is hopefully good, that you can make a good review on, that hopefully is actually good, right? Like not making a fake good review to try and sell it. But gee, I hope this is good because nobody else has reviewed it. So anybody who searches is going to find my review first, and I'm going to get a few more of those people to click those links. And on a high priced item like the Talos, he would have made thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars more if he would have just made a positive review. But because he has ethics and because he has integrity, I assume, again, I don't know him personally, but this is my impression, he made an honest review. Probably a little bit too brutally honest, but he made an honest review, and that cost, and he calls it out in the video, this video cost me thousands of dollars. That's not hyperbole. It legitimately costs us tons of money. For those of you who follow the channel, I had a relationship with Major Fitness. Major Fitness probably spends more advertising dollars than anybody else in the world right now on fitness stuff. All I would have had to do was make some good reviews, and I would have made money hand over fist. I cost myself tens of thousands of dollars by telling you not to buy that stuff. And the review is so bad. I was in a similar situation. I have got a review on the B52 that I made that I am not allowed to publish. And if I do publish it, now that I'm out of contract with them, I am going to get sued. I will get the same lawsuit that Gluck got. So it's just not worth it to me as a small creator to put that out. So what I do is I tell you guys every chance I get not to buy from that company. But it cost me a fortune. If I was an unscrupulous YouTuber, I would have just put out review after review after review after review. They would have sent me every single one of their racks. I'd have this gym full of every single piece that Major Fitness makes. There's channels out there who their gym is full of every single piece that Major Fitness makes, and they'll tell you how wonderful they all are because that makes a lot of money. Honesty doesn't make as much money up front. Honesty makes more money in the long run, but it doesn't make as much money up front. So the thought that Gluck would have made this video in order to enhance his reputation somehow, to make you trust him more, or to somehow make more money, the more money would have come from making a positive review. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, what does that mean to you and I as consumers? Does that mean that if a channel makes a negative review that they're a trustworthy channel? It's a generally good sign that that's a trustworthy channel. If you look through a channel's reviews and they are all either good or what I call fake negative, which I'll spend some time talking about at a later point, but they're all generally good. And even the the ones that aren't all that good are pointing out things that are just dumb. Like I remember one time I watched a review on one of these channels who were all good reviews, and they're trying to point out negatives. So they go, one of the things I don't really like about this is it comes in multiple boxes. And when it comes in multiple boxes, something could get stolen off your porch and you're just missing part of the thing. So I don't know that I like it because of that. It's like this issue that's not an issue, but they pointed something out that's negative. The one caveat I'll give you is just beware of the channels where every single video they try and sell you on how honest they are. And let me tell you, I'm about to be super honest because that's what we do here on this channel is we're super honest, and you can trust me because I'm super honest. I'm about to tell you all kinds of things that I don't like about this because I'm super honest. Like, beware of those people. You take those people with a grain of salt because, the old Shakespeare thing, methinks she doth protest too much. If you're making that big of a deal out of it, honest people don't typically go, and look at me, I'm honest. Now, we'll point it out here and there just because I think it's important to point out, but for the most part, we don't make a huge deal out of it. And so that's the one caveat I would give you. But what I would tell you is that if you do see channels that take the time to point out legitimate issues with products or legitimate issues with companies, and they actually take the time to put that video out, know that number one, that video costs them money. And number two, that's at least a positive sign. It's a green flag that you can at least trust that person a little bit. You want to look at other things too, but that's generally a good sign. So that's something that I would look at as a consumer, is that somebody isn't making a negative video for some nefarious, like Manchurian candidate plot reason to psychologically subvert you into trusting their other, like that's such a silly accusation. The more I think about it, the sillier it is. So anyway, that's what you and I can learn. Let's move on to the next point. And you guys have heard me make this point before. I've had some pushback in the comments, but I'll die on this hill. Companies that make fitness products, who have owners and product designers that don't actually train on the fitness products that they are selling you, should most likely be avoided because they make shitty products. It's just the way that it is. And this is the case with this Vulcan product. So how do I know that Vulcan doesn't train on the products that they use? The owner of Vulcan might train, but I can almost guarantee you that they don't train on this. And I can guarantee you that there's not a culture of training at Vulcan. So here's my clues for that. I could be wrong, but here's why I'm saying that. Number one, look at their about page. If you look at the about page of most companies, or you look at the social media pages of most companies, what you will see is you will see employees and owners actually using the equipment that they're selling, right? They're using the racks, they're using the barbells, they're using the weight plates, they're using all of that stuff on a regular basis. They test it, they know it, they know what they're doing. And when you look at their products, this is one of the reasons I like Rep. This is one of the reasons people really like Rogue and why Rogue makes good products, is because the owners of those companies and the people, the product developers of those companies actually train, they actually lift, and they do it on the products that they're selling. When you look at the about page for Vulcan, it looks like they said, hey, ChatGPT, make me a really markety sounding about page. And they talk about, we use the most advanced processes in fitness industry manufacture, and we do this. And it's just this boilerplate mumbo jumbo that says zero about training, about health, about fitness, about getting stronger, about building a great gym. It's just how awesome they are at making stuff out of metal. So that's my first clue. My second clue is that if anybody had actually used the Talos, they wouldn't have sent it to Gluck. What I really think happened is that they made this product that a bunch of engineers talked to a company in China and said, we want these certain specs. We want this much on the weight stack, and we want a low row and a center pulley and aluminum pulleys, and we want all these specs because we're going to make our specs look good. And then nobody actually used it. And then when the GarageGyms.com review came out, they went, we make good product. And that's kind of probably what they went on, because dang it, if anybody who knew anything about training actually used that product, and I'm going to link Gluck's review down below. I'm going to link Jonathan from NoFate 24/7's review below. When you watch those reviews, for any of you who actually work out, if you had run into any of the issues that these guys point out, would you have sent this product for review? No. Anybody who knows what they're doing would have trained on this product and went, no, we don't want this on Gluck's channel. This is not our best foot forward. So that's another way that I know that they don't train on the stuff that they make. And my third clue comes from the lawsuit itself. So one of the issues that Gluck had was that the cables on the front of the trolleys were very, very loose, and there's no way to tighten them on the unit. There's a little place where you can move the attachment point to one of 3 spots, but most good cable systems have a little screw that you can tighten to tighten the cables, because you don't want extra play in the cable system. Anybody who's used a cable system knows that you don't want extra play. Well, Vulcan says, oh, well, we shouldn't. And I guess there's an 1.5 inches of extra cable just hanging off the front. What happens was that it says in the lawsuit that, well, some customers like loose cables, so we ship it that way. Bullshit. Nobody likes loose cables. Loose cables don't work well. Loose cables don't work in a cable machine. You know what happens with loose cables? Loose cables come off of the pulleys and get stuck beside and make your machine not work. Loose cables have no place on a cable machine. Any person or manufacturer who actually uses their products would never, ever say that, because it's dumb. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life as far as an excuse for a manufacturer of why there's a problem. Oh, some customers like loose cable. Oh, you know what? Maybe some customers do, but you don't make your product that way, dumbass. You should know better. So that's one of the dumbest things in the lawsuit, is that Gluck points out that there's all kinds of play in the cables and that's a problem. And then their answer is, oh no, some people like that. It's like, no, some people don't like that unless they're idiots. So it's just, look, you can't make stuff and sell it if you don't actually use it, guys. And I know, like I said, people have pushed back on that before, that no, you don't need, you do. One of the things that all of the good garage gym companies have in common is their owners and founders and product designers do this because they lift, because they work out, because they care about this stuff. They want to make good stuff. That's one of the things that they, almost all of them, have in common. When I was at Home Gym Con, where most of the owners and founders are there, they're all guys who clearly lift, who clearly work out, who clearly care about making equipment that they would want to use. I can't in any way, shape, or form believe that this company, Vulcan, made the Talos and went, yeah, we like using this. It's just not a chance. Hopefully you can tell I'm a little bit riled up about this. I've said that before, but man, it's just, spent 3 days digging into this, and I'm telling you, it just gets sillier and sillier the more I look at it. And that pairs into something I mentioned before, that my business person's bristles kind of get up. Here's another one. So you're about to put your product, I watch Shark Tank every once in a while. I'm sure you guys do. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the people that go on Shark Tank, they practice those presentations for like 6 months to a year before they ever go on the show, because this is their shot, right? This is their chance to get their product in front of an audience, not just the sharks, but in front of an audience, right? Like, there's lots of success stories that have nothing to do with the sharks investing in their company. They have to do with just some rando person watching the TV show going, that's a cool product, I'll partner with them. And so they practice this pitch and they practice it. Guys, if you're gonna send a rack to Gluck or to Coop or to any large channel that has the number of subscribers that these guys do, that your video is going to get 50, 60, 70, 100,000 views. As a business person, are you going to send them anything that is less than perfect? Even if you don't normally work out, wouldn't you want to say, hey, buddy, I know you work out a lot. Can you come make sure that this is going to come across well on Gluck's channel? Like, to send them a product with issues like that, and not only issues with the loose cables and with the low row attachment point and all of the other issues that were with this product, but to send out a product that had shipping issues, that had missing parts, where you had missing parts that weren't even in stock, that had upgraded parts that you knew you had upgraded parts, but you didn't ship with this rack. Like, you deserve the bad review. You deserve it when you do that. When you don't take any care at all to even make sure that of all of the customers that you have, the one that should have a perfect experience is the person you send it to for a review. There should be no shipping issues. There should be no customer service issues. You shouldn't tell them, this is another of my favorite ones, is the instructions are crappy. You guys know I complain about that all the time. And the response was, well, just watch the video. We made a video. No, just make better instructions, jackasses. Like, that's so dumb. Some people want to use written instructions. Don't make bad instructions to go, yeah, but we made a video. Yeah, the video is important, 100%. But so are the written instructions. But even so, why would you ship that to somebody who's going to review your product? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So again, more evidence that the people who made this product and who run this company never actually use this product very much at all, if at all. So what does all of that teach you and I, the consumer, about dealing with a company or buying products from a company? What you want to do, a good clue, is look at their about page and look at their socials and see who they've got using the equipment. Is it all models and slick marketing material, or are there actual people using, even if it's not the people that own it, do you have actual people in the real world, actual users, end users, customers? Can you tell that there's real people using their equipment and giving you real, honest, good reviews about the equipment? Or is it all just kind of slick marketing and slick commercials and an owner that says they work out but clearly doesn't work out? Just there's a bunch of clues there that if you look. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care how good the specs look on something. I don't care how good the marketing pictures look on something. You've got a company where there's no evidence at all that the people at that company or the reps at that company or somebody at that company isn't working out on that equipment. I would personally run the other way. We are in a time that is just glorious for garage gyms. There are so many choices out there, guys. There is nobody out there who has the one of one, who has the only one that does that. And there's a couple of esoteric stuff. You could probably say Bulletproof Fitness makes some stuff that nobody else makes. But on the whole, you could buy a leg press from lots of different people. You can buy an all-in-one rack from lots of different people. There is no reason to buy one from a company who is clearly just cashing in on the trend right now that these are super popular items and just trying to make them in bright colors and with, better specs than the next guy. Stay away from companies who are run by people who don't lift, or at least who don't employ people to design the products who lift. That's probably the best advice I can give you as it relates to this particular topic. Now, for this next one, I'm going to need a lot of you guys to reach up to your head and take off your tinfoil hats. I know that for some of you, they're permanently duct taped up there, but you're going to have to take them off for this, because this is one of the areas that has the most misinformation flying around the internet about how YouTube channels work, and that's pay to play. Pay to play exists. And what I mean by pay to play is that depending on the size of the channel, some brands called brand deals will pay a channel for their product to appear on the channel. That is a normal thing. That's a normal part of business. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. I'm going to walk you through those situations, but just understand that it exists. Your largest channels in the space are almost all pay to play. Not exclusively, but almost all pay to play. Garage Gym Reviews, love them or hate them, they have a big enough audience to where if you want a product on Garage Gym Reviews, you are going to have to pay Garage Gym Reviews a ton of money, or you're going to have to catch Coop's eye and he's going to have to like your product and he'll bring your product on and he won't charge you for it. But on the whole, most of what you see on that channel has paid to be there. A lot of the stuff on Gluck's channel, I guarantee you, has paid an upfront amount to be. I don't think in this case they did, because it would have been in the lawsuit. So I don't think Vulcan paid him. And I know that's not a rule for Gluck, right? Like that's not his thing. Like if you're not going to pay me, I'm not going to put your thing on here. Like that's not the way to run a super smart business on the whole. But pay to play is a thing. When you get down below those two guys, some people do a lot of pay to play and some people don't. And a lot of channels are kind of a mix. They'll take some money from some companies, they'll deal with other companies who don't pay them money, and they just kind of mix back and forth. And I'm going to tell you my approach to it here at the end, but in the end there's a mix. But what I'm trying to tell you is that fact alone doesn't mean that you should or shouldn't trust the channel. That fact alone doesn't mean that you should or shouldn't trust Garage Gym Reviews. That fact alone doesn't mean that you should or shouldn't trust Gluck's or me or anybody else who operates in this space. What it means is that that's how business works. This is a business. I think sometimes a lot of people sitting at home, especially you tinfoil hat people, think that we do this out of the kindness of our hearts and that we make all of our money off of views, which we don't. So we make money off of other things. But it is a business and it does have to generate revenue. And you're an idiot if you turn down money in a lot of cases if that money doesn't compromise your integrity. So with that said, there's a couple of different kinds of pay to play. First of all, there is pay me for my time because my time is worth money to play. And that's what a lot of medium-sized channels are. The couple of times that I've done pay to play twice. I've done it with RitFit and I've done it with Major Fitness. And both times I charged them because they were sending me these big machines that needed to be put together. It took me all kinds of time to put them together. And that's time that I could have spent making videos. So I charged them for my time. And that's pretty normal in this space. We should get paid for our time. Our time is worth something. And it takes a lot of time to build this stuff. And if you're running a good channel and you're actually training on that stuff, this stuff, like Jonathan No Fate 24/7, when he did his Talos review, he's like, I was planning on working out on this for 30 days. It's so bad I can't. But I was planning to. And so that tells you that we now are also changing our training. We're training more often. We're training on equipment we wouldn't really prefer to train on. We're spending a lot of time. So that time is worth something. And when you're running this as your sole full-time business, in a lot of cases, that ends up being a part of people's business model. I don't think there's a problem with that. Now, I haven't, since those two people, done any pay to play. I'm not going to say I won't do it in the future. But for me, I pretty much avoid that because to me, it's hard to know that somebody sent you money to do something and then you tend to go, well, I'll ignore that little thing and not put it in the video. And so for me, I'd rather just not have that temptation. Not that I would do that, but I just don't want the temptation there, right? So that's how I approach it. The pay to play that's a problem is you need to pay for the privilege of being on my channel. And there are several channels who are that way, right? Like your product doesn't get on that channel unless you pay. You're paying a lot of money, and you're paying the amount of money that you pay is determined by the number of views, number of subscribers, and the level of viewer interaction that that particular channel gets. There's a website called socialbluebook.com, which helps people value what to charge for that type of stuff. But in the end, you are charging that company for the simple fact that you're going to put a certain number of eyeballs on their product. That's where I start to have an issue with a lot of channels because then there is the implicit agreement that you're going to say nice stuff about their product because they paid you a bunch of money. Most of those pay-to-play payments come with a contract, and I've looked at enough of those contracts to know that all of them pretty much give either the manufacturer the right to review and edit and change your content and take stuff out that they don't want in there, or to tell you not to post something, or in the case that you're the Marquise Brownlees of the world where you're the 800-pound gorilla and nobody can tell you what to do. There's just kind of that implicit expectation. Now, Marquise Brownlee, if you know who that is, one of the most subscribed to reviewers in the world on YouTube, he actually does a lot of bad reviews, so I trust that guy quite a bit. But in the end, channels that size, a lot of times when you pay somebody that much money, there's this expectation, right? That's all I'm trying to get at, is there's this expectation. That expectation then colors the review at the very least. And more often than not, it makes it a not useful review. It's a good run through the product, but it's just not a useful review. And this is where you get a lot of YouTube reviews that are simply lists of features. So you guys, if you watch many YouTube reviews, whether it's on gym stuff or otherwise, you've watched your share of reviews that go, this is the Aries 2.0. It's got aluminum pulleys. It has 200 and some odd pound stacks. It's got a nice pull. It has 3x3 uprights and 11 gauge steel. It's a rack. You should buy it, right? And you're like, well, you didn't tell me anything about that. You just basically read the feature list off the website. Well, that's where those reviews come from. Is because maybe the person is saying to themselves, I can't really make a bad review about it. I don't want to. Guys, I got to tell you, just as an aside, it is incredibly hard to make a bad review. I have a bad review that I should have made 3 or 4 months ago now on the Fringe Sport Silverback dumbbells. They're awful. I'm not going to say they're a pile of shit awful, but you shouldn't buy them. At least based on the experience that I had. And the reason why I haven't made that video yet is it's really hard to make those videos. I love Fringe Sport. I love my Dane. I love my Savage bumper plates. It's so hard for me to say something bad about them, especially this bad. But I'm going to have to make that review. It's hard. So just understand that for most reviewers, it is very difficult for us to actually get on camera and then sit and spend hours editing a review where we just talk smack about stuff. So you get a lot of reviewers who don't want to do that, and instead they give you these glossed over, just feature list reviews. So what does this have to do with Vulcan and Gluck? Well, this is what it has to do with. Vulcan makes a big deal in the lawsuit about how they gave Gluck a $4,000 rack. It comes up a couple of times in the lawsuit. It's come up a couple of times in other stuff. They clearly it seems like it was pulling teeth to get them to even send him a rack in the first place. And this is probably why you don't see a lot of Vulcan reviews. Look, guys, I know that a lot of you think that we do things, and this again for the tinfoil hat people out there, that because somebody sends me something that all of a sudden it's like the biggest thing in the world. Like I'm going to give them nothing but great reviews. I bought the Aries behind me, but in all honesty, Rep sent me the wall mount kit and the storage wings on the side at no charge. So that made it worth it for me to buy the Aries. But I spent my own money. I spent almost $4,000 on this thing. The free stuff isn't going to make me give it a good review. The stuff that I do get for free, guys, I've got so much stuff in the gym. I can't even tell you how much free stuff I turned down. I turned down thousands and thousands of dollars of free stuff every week. Once your channel reaches a certain point, I know it's hard to believe, the free stuff has no influence on my opinion at that point. And in fact, it's at a point where we can't buy everything. Like, we don't make as much on YouTube as a lot of you guys think we might. So we can't afford to buy anything. If a manufacturer wants their product reviewed, they have to send out the free samples. That's the only way to get them on these channels, because we just can't afford to buy them. We can't afford to buy a $4,000 Talos rack from Vulcan and find a spot in our garage or studio, if we're lucky enough to have a studio, to review that thing. So free stuff doesn't mean a whole lot. And I think that the impression that I got in this particular lawsuit is that Vulcan really thought that that free thing earned them some leeway, we'll say. That, because they really lean on this. If you read the lawsuit, you see what I mean. They really lean on the fact that, well, we sent him a $4,000 rack and then he turned around and gave us a bad review. Like, that statement right there kind of tells you that they were expecting a good review, at least in part because it was free. So when you're looking at pay to play, whether it's paying money to play or whether it's giving free product to play, the first thing that we need to understand as consumers is that is how the review space runs, guys. This is in part an advertising business. Whether the company gets a good review or not, them putting something on our channels gets their product in front of a very valuable market. It doesn't just, like, if you're Gluck, I don't know how many subscribers he has. Let's see, he's got 100,000 subscribers. If he's got 100,000 subscribers, that's 100,000 sets of potential eyes that have already said, I like home gym stuff. In the marketing world, that audience that's that narrowly targeted is worth a lot of money. So that money just comes as part of that. Whether or not you can trust the people who get free products and get paid, you're never going to find a channel who doesn't get those things, right? You're going to find the guy who has 3 subscribers in his garage who's reviewing the barbell he's had for 5 years. But other than that, if you want to get a channel that's up to date and current and reviews the new stuff and shows you comparisons and is able to have multiple racks in the gym like I do, you're going to have to be in a situation where you have to understand that we get some of the stuff for free and that's how we pay for our expenses, and that's how we built our business, and that's where our revenue comes from. It doesn't mean that they're honest or dishonest. It's just part of the deal. And that's why I said at the beginning of the section, you got to take your tinfoil hat off, because not everything that involves money is crooked. That's just not the way that it is. Good people aren't tempted. I'll give you just an off-the-wall analogy. I was talking with somebody the other day about the difference between living in a good neighborhood and a bad neighborhood. And I live in a fantastic neighborhood. I walk my dog at 3 a.m, no problem, no thoughts, no worries at all. I leave my garage door open. I leave my car door open. I don't lock my front door. So I didn't lock my front door last night and forgot. I could get out of my car and drop $500 in cash out of my pocket in my driveway. And the only thing that would happen is either it would be there when I came back to look for it, or my neighbor would go, hey dude, you dropped $500. If you're in a bad neighborhood, people are like, you don't trust anybody. They're going to break into your car. You can't leave anything valuable in there. If you drop money out of your pocket, it's gone. You lose your wallet, it's gone. You leave your garage door open and it doesn't look like there's anybody in your garage is empty, right? So whether or not somebody is honest or not is on them. It's not on the situation. In those situations with my garage, same issue, 2 different neighborhoods, 2 different things happen. Well, same thing with this affiliate marketing. There's money in both places. There's money with honest people, there's money with dishonest people. And the honest person is always going to have integrity, and the dishonest person isn't. I've always believed that there's no such thing as a minor lapse in integrity. You either have it or you don't. And when you find YouTubers that have it, and there's plenty of them that do, then you know that you can trust them, and you know that whether they're getting money or not, that they're going to do their best to give you an honest review. And that's true. I could make a whole list of people that you can trust, that I watch, that I trust, because I know even from talking to them back channel that they're not influenced by the money or the free stuff. But there's also channels that are. And that's why I took the time earlier to say that when you're looking at YouTube channels, when you're looking at reviewers, you have to look at the long-term scope of that channel. What do they do over time? Are they always honest? Are they always not honest? Are they, do they take the time to make bad reviews consistently? Do they make the time to point out things that could be better on most products? Do they take the time to do those things to where they earn your trust over time? And then at that point, does it matter whether they get paid to play? Does it matter whether they get free products? No, because that's just how they're trying to run a successful business. And the way they built that business is by being honest. One of the rewards of building that business is the pay to play and the products. So I feel like I've kind of rambled about that topic a lot. It's a hard one to explain to people who aren't in the business. And it's a hard thing to explain to a very jaded population right now. Like, there's a lot of us right now who don't trust anybody. I get that. There's a lot of people out there who think that money is just evil, period, that the only way anybody gets money is by cheating and stealing and lying. And I got to tell you that is not the case at all, but I get that there's a lot of people that feel that way. But I want to kind of point out that, just because they bring it back to the point of the video, just because Vulcan gave Gluck a rack, their expectation is clearly that there was something good was going to happen. I think that's part of the lawsuit is, well, wait a minute, we gave you a free rack. Like, where's our good review? And I think that, to me, the kind of subtext of the lawsuit, there's a lot of that is we gave you this thing, you now owe us this. And that's just not how this space works when you're dealing with honest people. So enough rambling about YouTuber reviews. Let's talk about review aggregators and review sites. So one of the things that they point out in the lawsuit is, just like they point out, hey, GarageGyms.com gave a good review of this product, so Gluck's review can't be true. They also go, oh, well, Vulcan has a 4.8 out of 5 stars on reviews.io. Therefore, they're a good company. How dare Gluck say anything bad about them? Look at all of these people, these thousands of reviews that say that they're wonderful. Now, this is clearly somebody who doesn't understand the landscape of online reviews, but let's talk about reviews.io and what reviews you can and can't trust. If you look at reviews.io, now, when I talked at the beginning of this episode about how I have experience in this, I have a lot of experience dealing with this specific subject. For 10 years, I ran the internet and phone sales division of the company that I worked at. It was a 9-figure business, and we thrived on soliciting reviews and getting positive reviews. We were number 1 in Consumer Reports for many, many years in a row, and that's kind of the Mount Everest of reviews, but it was important that you get good reviews. So we had a whole staff of people who specifically worked on making sure that our review landscape online looked good. And that meant soliciting good reviews and also dealing with bad reviews and getting people to take bad reviews down. So what does reviews.io do? What reviews.io is it's a software as a service company or an SaaS company. And what they do is they integrate with you with your email campaigns and things like that. And if you look at their website, they basically say, look, our clients all get 4.8 or 4.9 stars out of 5 for all their reviews. So you should use reviews.io too. What they do is, and I haven't used them specifically, but I've used lots of companies like them. What they'll do is they'll craft, just as a specific example, they'll craft an email campaign that blasts out an email, and you guys all get these, right? Like, I hate these emails. Every time I buy something, I get 15 different emails that want me to review their stupid product. Like, I don't want to review your product. If I wanted to review your product, I would go to your website and review it. Please stop sending me these emails. I know you guys get those. Well, those come from a company like review.io. And what good companies like that do is they will send out an email that says, hey, we hope you love the Talos rack that you got. We hope you love the Vulcan product that you got. If you think we're wonderful and you want to let people know, we would love it if you left a 5-star review. A lot of companies go, if you do, we'll give you $25 off your next order, right? So there's a carrot there. There's a carrot that says, hey, if you give us a positive review, we're going to give you something. And that's what review.io does, is they create this environment where they solicit mostly good reviews. Now, good companies also in those emails say, and if you don't feel like you can give us 4 or 5 stars, here's our customer service email, here's our phone number, please call us and tell us what the problem was so that we can make it right. Well, whether they make it right or not, what they're doing is they're saying, don't leave us a bad review, just call us. So good review, leave it, we'll give you something. Bad review, don't leave it, call us. And maybe they don't do it. I think that Vulcan, when I look at their bad reviews that they do have posted, one thing on their behalf is one of the things I look for in a good company, and this is something you guys can look at too as a consumer, look at the different review sites that are out there. And what you'll see is don't look at the positive reviews, look at the negative reviews and look to see if the company has responded. So Vulcan tends to respond to the negative reviews, which is a sign of a good company. But that also tells me that they're eliminating a lot of those reviews too, because what typically happens from a company is you'll handle the customer's issue and you go, hey, now that issue is handled, can you change your review to positive? And if you look at a lot of their positive reviews, you'll see just by the comments, hey, there was a problem, and I initially gave them this review, but now I gave them this other review. So Trustpilot is one that I look at a lot. And that's where I saw these Vulcan reviews on Trustpilot. So you can see what I'm talking about there on Trustpilot. That's what reviews.io does. So for the lawsuit to say that they're a good company because they have good reviews, because they use this company whose job is to get them good reviews, again, not the smartest thing in the world. It's just kind of dumb. And it's one of those things where when you first read it, you're like, oh wow, maybe Vulcan has a point. And then when you really kind of drill down, you go, maybe not only do they not have a point, what a horrible thing to just put in the lawsuit that they use reviews.io. So, and this is one of the reasons I recommend you read the actual lawsuit, because when you read a lot of the summaries of the lawsuits, a lot of the summaries will tell you to look at Trustpilot. The lawsuit doesn't say Trustpilot. The lawsuit says reviews.io, and boy, does that say a lot, because again, that company's job is to get you good reviews. So, not the best thing. So, what does that mean to you and I as consumers? It means that not only are written reviews dead, Amazon reviews, Trustpilot reviews, all of verified buyer reviews, guys, all of those are just crap. They really are. They're just a steaming pile of dung. They're just terrible. You cannot use those to make a purchase decision, because I guarantee you, because I had, as part of our internet team where I used to work, we had a team of people whose job was to make sure that all those reviews were good. And does that mean that it's a good thing or a bad thing? No, but it doesn't tell you much about the company. At some point, if it's all good reviews, it's basically meaningless. And Amazon reviews are this way, and all of the reviews that you see. So another reason to find a couple of YouTube reviewers, I really believe, guys, that, and this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of bent out of shape about this a little bit, or maybe a lot of it, is that this lawsuit isn't just an issue between Vulcan and Gluck. This lawsuit is taking aim from a big company with lots of resources, at an area where is one of the last bastions that consumers can go to get honest feedback about a product. It's one of the last places that we can look as customers and go, I think somebody's not pulling my leg, right? I think Gluck's not full of shit. I think Tim's not full of shit. I think these guys are telling me the truth, and I'm about to spend thousands of dollars, so thank goodness I found somebody I can trust, right? And here's a big company with more money. Look, if somebody sues me for defamation, and this is why I haven't published that major fitness review, I can't afford a defamation lawsuit. I will have to declare bankruptcy if somebody sues me for that. It's just the way that it is. So I can't publish certain things like that and take that risk. So they're basically being a big bully. So this has repercussions across the whole landscape. Some of the smaller content creators are the ones who are the most honest. These mid-sized YouTube channels, or these smaller YouTube channels, they're the ones who are the most honest sometimes. And now you're going to have people like that who are afraid to say anything bad about a company because they can't afford the lawyer. They can't afford the lawsuit. And before anybody types in the comments that, oh, well, you get to recoup the legal costs, that's way far past you going out of business. Like, you're already out of business. You can't afford, you're trying to support your family, especially if you do this for a living. Like, this is not a hit that we can afford to take. So to have a big company like this come in and go, you said mean things, I'm going to sue you, which is basically what they did, right? Like, I'm sorry your feelings are hurt. Get the heck over it. To do that has repercussions across the whole industry. So what does that mean to you and I as a consumer? I got to calm back down. What that means is that when your favorite creators ask you to subscribe, please subscribe. Something like 60 to 80% of all the people that watch our videos aren't subscribed. That little click of a button, yes, you have to start an account on YouTube. Big deal. You got to start an account on, I got to start an account to buy socks online these days. Just start an account and hit subscribe. That really helps your creators. That helps those people who you know are honest, who have built that reputation, have built that trust. That helps them to keep going. That helps them to succeed, because that tells companies to work with them. You don't make money off subscribers directly, but that's what shows that, hey, I'm building a reputation in the space and that companies can trust me, and that you get more and more opportunities to work with people who have products that you might want to see that particular person review. Like their videos, just click the stupid thumbs up button, right? It's crazy that you'll get a video that has 27,000 views and 50 likes. Really, 27,000 people watched that video and only 50 people hit the like button? It's crazy. But that's another thing that really helps, because that like helps push that video out to more people. Remember I talked about before the YouTube algorithm, which is that's you telling YouTube, this is a good video to show other people, right? Who like home gym stuff. I like it, other people will like it. That's what it's for. Comment on stuff. YouTube loves to see interaction. If you like a video enough to actually have a conversation with the creator, that tells YouTube that it's a good video to push out to other people. And please, if you can at all remember to do it, please buy from the links, even if it's not mine. I don't care if it's mine. Whoever helps you to make a decision, if you're looking at shoe reviews and Joe the shoe reviewer does the review that helps you decide to buy that particular pair of shoes, please buy it through Joe's link. Like, this is how we get paid. This is the primary source of our income. And this is what also tells companies that, hey, Joe's a really good shoe reviewer. He does a nice job. He actually helps people see the value of our product, and therefore they buy it. So maybe we'll send Joe some more free shoes to review. And that's how channels grow. If you want us to grow and to be able to give you honest information, to give you honest feedback on product, to be able to actually do this enough, to do it full time, to put out enough videos, to develop that relationship with you and to develop that reputation, then we really need you guys to do that stuff. It is so important. I can't even impart upon you how important it is. Okay, so let me tie all this together into one last piece of advice for you guys. And one thing that I look at a lot when I look at review channels and whether or not I can trust them and whether or not I can use them to make a buying decision. So when I look at reviews, and I said before, look for companies or look for channels that are willing to make a negative review. And sometimes you'll see a few different types of negative reviews. Number one, you'll see just a straight up negative review. This thing's a pile of donkey turds and I wouldn't buy it, right? That's pretty straightforward. You don't see that a lot because of the issue that's going on right now with Gluck and Vulcan. Is when you start using derogatory terms like that, all of a sudden people's feelings get hurt, and people with a lot extra money or a lawyer on retainer tend to sue you over that type of stuff because they don't like the words you use. Unfortunately, I'm Gen X. I grew up and I don't care. You call me whatever you want. I don't care. So you call me all the names in the world. I've heard them all. So, it's not a big deal to me. But apparently the people these days in the world are a little bit more thin-skinned than that. And boy, when you say a mean word about somebody, that somehow is sometimes called violence, right? Like somehow words have become, anyway, stupid. But so somebody said something mean, get over it. Grow some thick skin, get over it. Somebody said your product was a pile of shit. Big deal. In the end, those are one type of reviews, and you definitely see those. I mentioned Marquise Brownlee before. He's definitely made some reviews that were like, this thing, I can't believe this company sent this to me. This is terrible. They're never gonna, and he has killed entire companies with his bad reviews. But hey, look, actions have consequences, right? You make a bad product, you send it to somebody to review it, you should expect that they're going to be honest and give you a bad review if you deserve it. The other type of review, another type of review you see a lot, which is what I try and do a lot, which is kind of more feedback related, more critical reviews, but not something's bad or good. What I try and do, and you know this if you watch the channel, I'll say, hey, I like these certain things, and here's some things that you'll always hear me use this term. This is something I wish was different. This is something I wish was better. This is something I wish they made a different way. Because that, to me, that's what it is. It's not that this particular feature or function is bad. There are some products that I got that were giant, heaping, flaming piles of dog turd. The Major Fitness B52 is one of them. I really wish I could post that video without repercussions. But anyway, so there are some that are just bad, right? And I will tell you if something is just bad. But in the most cases, I'll say, hey, these are some things that are good. These are some things that really could be better. And this is the type of customer who might be best suited. And personally, I like to see those reviews the most. To me, those are the most helpful. Also, I think those are the most helpful to the companies so that they can look at your review and go, hey, maybe we should make this different in V2 and V3. And that's one of the things I like about Force USA is a lot of Force USA's products, a lot of their running changes and their different versions are all from feedback from reviewers or from customers. They actually listen to what we say. So I think those critical reviews have a place. The third type are what I call non-reviews. Now, there are also glowing reviews. So one thing, I've been called a shill for Force USA recently because I've made such positive videos about Force USA. But for me, if something's good, you should say it's good. Just like if something's bad, you should say it's bad. And if something could be better, you should say it could be better. But what you get is a lot of these non-reviews. Now, I don't want to name names here, but what I will tell you is the best example I could think of this is a rather large YouTube channel decided to review the entire product line from a rather large brand. And when they did this review of the entire product line, it was a complete what I call I hate non-reviews. What a non-review is they went through and they went, hey, this company makes all of these things. And this is what this thing is and what it does. And this is what this thing is and what it does. And this is what this thing is and what it does. And if I had to pick one of these that was for me, I would pick this one. This is the best of all of these. Now, see how much of a non-review that is? They were all turds, guys. All of them. all of them to a product were bad. This is why this channel did the review this way. They're all bad. If they had to do a single product review on any of them, it couldn't have been a good review. But you can put them all up there and go, well, if I had to buy one, I would buy this one. This is the best of them, right? And they just left it at that. The one that killed me, and I actually wrote it down, this is how they ended the review. There's a lot of things they could improve on them, but then they'd have to increase the cost. I'm just like, what kind of review is that? They didn't spend any time at all in the review itself saying that here's the things that could be better. They didn't even bother to make a critical review and say, this could be better, this could be better. They just lumped it all in at the end and went, there's a lot of things that could be better, but then they'd have to increase the cost. And they went on saying, these are pretty cheap. If you're on a budget, not a bad cheap product. And what I know happened because of the size of the channel is they probably made a ton of money. That was 1000% a pay-to-play video. It's such a good example of a company who just paid the money to be on this channel and in exchange got a not bad review. It wasn't a great review, trust me. The review, you could tell the reviewer wanted to be much more negative than he was, but you could also tell that he was holding back because this is going to cost him money not to hold back. Let's just be honest. So there's those. So those are the few types of reviews that you'll see out there. And the reason I went over those is when you guys are looking for people you can trust, look for the bad reviews, the outright bad reviews, and then also look for the ones that are critical. Look for the channels that are critical and don't give you reasons like this could be better, like it could come in one box instead of multiples because somebody could steal a box from your porch. Like that's a dumb negative point. Like I'll use the Talos as an example. One thing that could be better is the cable length. The cables came and they were a little bit too long and there's no way to tighten them on the unit. So what I had to do was go in and clip off 3 inches of the cable so that it was tight, so that it would actually work better. When I reached out to the company and told them that, they said, hey, thanks for letting us know. They're going to take a look at their cable length and send more appropriately sized cables in the future units. Like that's what you want to look for in a review. That's what I would like to see in a review. So when I look at this lawsuit, there was no willingness at all to do that from the company's part. So that's my take on the lawsuit and Gluck and what it means to the industry and relatively long podcast. I also want to take a minute here at the end and feel free to cut this part off if you're not interested. But when I said at the beginning that I'd prepared for this episode quite a bit, one of the many versions of this episode that I wrote actually went through all of the major YouTube sites and basically called them out for being pay to play, dishonest, honest, and things like that. And I just didn't feel like doing that. I really try not to be negative as much as I can, especially where it's not necessarily warranted. So I didn't do that. Then I was going to go through all the manufacturers and go, well, this manufacturer does this and this manufacturer does that. And this one. And again, I didn't want to do that. And another reason I didn't want to do that is because I don't want to speak for other people. But since the point of making this episode was to try and help you guys navigate through the world of awful, fake, bad reviews that aren't helpful and find things that are helpful to you when you spend your money. The one thing that I do know is how I run this channel. So I want to just take a minute and be completely transparent and honest with you about the few things that I do here so that hopefully I can earn you hitting that subscribe button. So hopefully I can earn you sharing the videos and hopefully I can earn your trust enough that when I say it's a good product that you decide to buy one because of something I said, that you buy through that link so that I can keep doing this because I love this job. I cannot tell you how much I love this job. I can't believe I ended up doing this for a living. It's not my forever job, I will tell you that, but it has been such an amazing experience for me to be able to do this for the time that I've done it. And the only reason I can do it is because you guys trust me and you trust what I'm saying and you trust what I'm doing. And I feel it's important to always share with you guys some of the behind the scenes stuff. So I made a quick list. Something that I want to make sure that you guys understand that before I make every video, I ask myself 2 questions. Number 1 is this helpful to people? If I can't answer that question, yes, I do not make the video. That's why I make so many different kinds of videos too, because instead of when I did the leg developer video recently, I said, is a review of the Freak Athlete leg developer helpful to people? If I just did a review on that, and the answer was no, because there's already like 6 trillion reviews. But is a video that helps people pick out leg developers helpful? Yes. So I made that video. I always ask myself, is this video helpful to people? If it is, I go on to the next question, which is, will this video glorify God? Now, some of you non-religious people just rolled your eyes, so let me just explain what that means. What that means is that I was gifted and I'm the beneficiary of gifts and talents from my creator that I can use to do good things in the world. So, in other words, is the video that I'm making taking my skills and talents and using them in a way that makes things better in the world? Does it make your life better? Does it make my life better? Does it help you guys be a better mom, a better dad, a better grandparent, a better uncle, a better brother, a better athlete, a better whatever it is you're trying to be better at? Is what I'm doing using my skills and talents in the world to put that out into the world to hopefully help make you guys better? Those are the two questions I ask myself before every video. Do I always succeed in making a video that does those two things? No, but I gotta tell you, it is my driving factor. I do not think about money. A lot of you aren't gonna believe that. I do not think about how much money something is going to make me. I only think about those two things, and here's why. A long time ago, when I learned to sell stuff, very 35 years ago, man, long time ago, when I was 19, 20 years old, and my first job out of college was I dropped out of college to sell cars. And fortunately, I had a good car salesperson teach me how to sell. And one of the people he introduced me to was a gentleman by the name of Zig Ziglar. Old school sales training guy, old school motivational speaker, like Tony Robbins before Tony Robbins was a thing. And Zig's number one thing, his saying, his motto in life was, you can have everything in life that you want if you help enough other people get what they want. Not you can have, money if you focus on money. It's you can have everything else, and you can have everything in life that you want if you just spend your life helping enough other people get what they want. And that's how I've treated this channel. I know that if over time, if I make videos that are helpful to you guys, if I make videos that help change your lives, if I make videos that help you spend your money wisely, that over time, this channel will afford me all the things that I want in life. Part of that is money to support myself with, but I'm not really money motivated. If I was money motivated, I would still work at that company that I spent a lot of time talking about, because I got to tell you, I made a lot of money there. And I make a lot less money now, but I can tell you I'm a lot happier now. So all that said, that's how I run. That's a couple of things I do when I make videos. Another saying I try and go by is something that Mr. Apt taught me. When I worked at Apt Electronics, I was fortunate enough to work with the owner directly quite a bit. And I remember one night we were walking the floor and I was trying to help a customer out, trying to take one of those customers that was having a bad experience and turn them into a customer for life. And he said to give him like all this stuff for free, like go trade the product out, which was 6 months old or a year old, do the installation for free, like patch their baseboards. Like we lost a boatload of money on this customer. And I said, Mr. App, that's going to cost us all this. Like, this is crazy. Why don't we just take the product back and call it a day? And he looks, I'm never afraid. He looks at me, he goes, Tim, I am not after this one sale from this one customer. I am after all of the sales for the entire life of this customer, plus all of the sales that he refers to us from his friends, his family, his neighbors, his coworkers. And if it costs me money now to do that, then that's what we're going to do. And he built, if you're in Chicago and you know about Apt Electronics, that's how that store was built. That store is massive, right? It is awesome. It's probably one of the best retail stores in the world. People literally fly from all over the world to come see that retail store as an example of how to run a store. And I always think about that. So if it's going to cost me money to make a video that says the Talos is garbage, then I'm going to make that video because I know in the long run that will help you guys trust me more and build more confidence in the channel. So those are the overarching things that I think of when I run the channel. Next, do I do pay to play? I told you that I've done it a couple times before. I do not do it now. I might do it in the future. It just depends. If I do it in the future, I will 1000% tell you guys that the company paid for my time or the company paid for a spot or whatever it happens to be. That will be 1000% transparent so you can make a decision on your own if you want to trust that video or not. Do I recommend products that don't have an affiliate program? This is another way that you can tell whether channels are good. And I'm gonna pay Gluck a backhanded compliment here. One of my knocks on Gluck's channel up until very recently was that Gluck never reviewed a product that didn't have an affiliate link. That's just how he ran his channel. And he would do like best of videos. These are the best of this, these are the best of that. And every single one had an affiliate link. And I knew that there were products in that category that were better than those, but they just didn't have an affiliate link. And that was always my one I don't know if I agree with that. Well, I got to tell you that Gluck has changed that. And he now does lots of videos on stuff that don't have affiliate links. He just did a best cable attachments video, which is a great video, by the way. Go watch it. If you want to take a look at all the cable attachments that I think he reviewed over 100 of them in this video. But his top rated ones don't have affiliate programs. So I really, really appreciate that about him. And that just raised my level of confidence in his channel, like way more than him trying to make a video that bashes stuff. And so for me, I review stuff all the time. A couple that come to mind right away: Track Handle Sports and Mag Grips. Speaking of cable attachments, both things that are in Gluck's video. I have talked those up incessantly. I make $0 for talking about those. So absolutely what I review here on this channel has nothing to do with whether or not there is an affiliate link to it or not. I review stuff I think you guys are going to dig. I review stuff that I, as a gym nerd, want to use in my own gym. And if there happens to be an affiliate link, great. If not, that's great too. Do I work with companies that want editorial control of my videos? Absolutely not. That is a deal breaker 100% of the time. I will never again sign a contract, and I did with Major Fitness, but I will never again sign a contract with anyone that has anything in it that says we get to review your videos first. Companies don't get to review shit. Period. If they don't like it, I don't work with them. Period. End of story. There's a bunch of companies that I could be working with now. There's a bunch of companies that you see reviewed a lot. Spedience is one of them, who want creative control over your videos. I will not do that. So you can always trust that I have never made a video or published a video that has any input from the manufacturer at all. Have I turned down companies that pay big? Like, have I turned down money? And I already talked about Rogue. That's cost me a lot of money, guys. I'm just going to be super honest with you. Rogue is the boulder you push downhill. It's the one that's easiest to sell. It's the one that's, they don't give you anything for free. You got to buy all their stuff. But I chose not to be a Rogue affiliate a long time ago for lots of reasons. Watch back episodes of the podcast if you want to know why, but absolutely. And another one currently, Hume Health reached out. So as you guys know, I'm starting a second channel on training, and I was looking for a device to track things, like a smart scale that actually measures body fat and stuff. And I kind of narrowed it down. I thought Hume would be a good idea. They call it the Body Pod, and had an agreement with them and talked to them, and they were actually going to be a pay to play. So because it was on the other channel and I'm not going to monetize that channel, I was like, well, maybe I'll do this one. They were going to pay me $1,000 for the smart scale and $1,000 for their new Hume band. And then I started doing research on the company. And what I realized was that their original website had fake scientists that didn't actually exist. And I started looking into their marketing materials. There's lots of misleading stuff in their marketing materials. There's lots of people that they say are doing stuff for them that don't exist. If you reverse image search most of the images of people on their marketing materials, they come up as just stock images, and I realized that I couldn't trust that company. So again, could I have made money just by, it's a scale, it probably works fine, but I'm not going to deal with a company that does those things. And that cost me a couple grand right up front, plus whatever I would have made, with affiliate links to that product. So understand and hopefully trust that I won't ever work with a company that I think is unscrupulous or dishonest, or that I think is something bad that I shouldn't recommend to you guys, or that I wouldn't recommend to my friends and family. And I make a lot of decisions that cost me a lot of money because of that. Have I put in effort into products that don't pay? Yeah. Let's talk about that Fringe Sport Dane. I've sold a lot of Danes for Fringe Sport. I know 100%. I've got the emails from people who are happy with them. I have not been paid on very many Danes from Fringe Sport, but I will continue to tell you that it's a great product. If you want one, buy one through my link if you can. But even if you don't, you're going to love it. I think it's a great product for the price. So I will keep continuing to recommend that product, even though it doesn't convert really well for me. Again, my goal is this helpful to you? Am I recommending things that I think will make your life better? And I think that's a good product to recommend. So there's lots of products in the gym that don't convert very well. So I'll keep recommending them if they're good. And the last point I want to make about GymCrafter is, do I expect all of you to trust me? No, this is the internet. There's people out there who will never trust anybody for any reason. And I understand that. I used to be one of those people. Hopefully at some point you have more faith in humanity and you'll stop being that way. But I understand that. I also understand that I am a little, I go to extremes, right? Like this video, I kind of was pretty emotional and overboard about, not liking certain things, but I also get the same about things that I like. When I do things like trips to Force USA and I walk in and I look at the stuff and I really, really like it, I'm going to tell you guys I really, really like it, and I'm going to get really excited about it, and people are going to accuse me of being a shill and being paid by Force USA, or doing things because they paid for a trip out to Utah, which, by the way, I saw none of Utah. I got to eat it in and out twice. That was the best thing about that trip as far as being in Utah. I could see the mountains on the way from my hotel, which was basically across the parking lot from Force USA, to their showroom where I spent 12 to 14 hours a day shooting videos. So that trip didn't really I don't feel like I owe them anything for that trip, but I really like their stuff. So when I really like something, I'm going to tell you guys I really like it. I really like the Aries. If you have the money, you should buy one. It's awesome. So I'm going to say that. If you think I'm a shill for rep, that's awesome. I don't expect everybody to trust me, but I am going to be 100% honest with you, and I'm going to be, to the extreme sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to say things are awesome. Sometimes I'm going to tell you they're a flaming pile of dog crap. So whether that makes you trust me or not, I don't know, but I don't expect all of you to trust me, but all I can do is be as transparent as I can. And if you've watched this far, I would like to know from you guys. Who do you trust and who do you not trust and why? Who are your go-to YouTube channels, whether it's in this space or another space? Like if you have other hobbies or things you watch, I would love to know, because just as a YouTuber, I would love to see the people that you trust and that you go to and see what they do and see how I can integrate those things into this channel, because I really do want to be a trusted resource for you guys. And I know I just kind of did the opposite of what I said earlier, which is beware people who tell you how much so you can trust them. but let me know who you like. Let me know who you don't like. Let me know why you don't like them. Don't just say, hey, I hate so-and-so. Like, give me some specific examples so I can say, hey, maybe I should make sure I never do that. So I'm really curious to know. I always love talking to you guys down in the comments. If you watched this far, gosh, I don't even know how. I went through 2 batteries on my camera already, so I have no idea how long this podcast is going to end up being. But if you watched this far, thank you, as usual. And until the next podcast or review or overly enthusiastic trip someplace, which I'm going someplace next week. I can't tell you who, but I'm going to another manufacturer next week. I can't wait to bring you. It's cool stuff, brand new line of products. Nobody's seen it yet. Super cool part of my job. So until you could tune in for one of those things, I'm Tim with GymCrafter.